Your website is the mousetrap. Your content is the cheese. Welcome to Content Matters with Barry Feldman and Andy Crestodina.
For 4 years running, the curiosity of my partner Andy Crestodina and his team at Orbit Media Studios have quested, if you will, to find out what makes bloggers tick, how they behave, what they do, what works, what doesn't work, and it results in some amazing content and research and data that now takes the form of blog posts and guest posts and infographics. In 2017 version came out in 2017, and we're going to look at that now because blogging's evolving.
Mm-hmm. This piece of survey is the big one. It's our largest piece of content and biggest effort each year, and the fact that we've done it year over year makes it more fun every time because we get to see the trend. We get the longitudinal data. We get to see how these things have evolved, and it's evolved a lot. It's changed a lot. Let's start with this. The average time it takes to write a blog post has increased 40% over the last 4 years.
Yeah, that's interesting. I love that one. I think, even the result of that one says it takes 3 hours and 20 minutes to create an average blog post. And, I don't know that I've ever done one that quickly. So I think, the key word there is average, but, obviously some bloggers have a long list of things they want to talk about and they know what they want to talk about. And, 2-3 hours, maybe 3.5 or 3:20 is good. Mine, it almost takes me that long to put it on WordPress. I mean, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but the research part of it is intensive and I spend way more time than that. So I'm one of the guys that answered the survey that skewed that up. But, the takeaway really is people are putting more time into it because they want to create better content, and that takes time.
Yeah, that's you and I are in that same group where we spend 6+ hours on average per post, where they call them blog posts, but these are just basically in-depth articles. And that 27% of us are doing that. So that's the percentage of people who spend very little time has gone down. The percentage of people who spend much more time has gone up. 3 hours, 20 minutes to write a typical post. And then the rest of the survey starts to flow into where that time goes. Words per post. Are you working with editors? What are you including in the content? How are you promoting it? So, this is a fun conversation and a follow-up to a previous episode of Content Matters where we go into the details of the new blogger survey and tell you how this world of content marketing has changed.
Yeah. I mean, you have that cool little graphic, and these graphics are sprinkled throughout, which will tell people where to find your post if they haven't seen it already when we post the podcast. But to move on from the last point, it says, does spending more time with each post make a difference? Mm-hmm. The answer is yes, right? Does spending more time with anything make a difference, right? If you want that thing to work, what you put into it has some relationship to what you get out of it. So if you take blogging lightly and it takes you an hour a week, then good luck.
Yeah, that is kind of here the spoiler alert, and it's obvious maybe in all things in life and marketing and business and online, offline. People who spend more time on things are more likely to say they get results from those things. The bloggers who spend 6+ hours on an article, 49% of them report strong results. 30% of all the bloggers surveyed, there's 1,377. 30% of all the bloggers surveyed said they report strong results. So what are the outliers, right? So let's go into the things that go into that. Like, okay, spending more time correlates with beating that trend. So half of the people who spend a lot of time are beating the trend. What about working with editors? What percentage of people work with an editor? That increases every year. Right now, 19% of people have a formal editing one in 5 actually. About 1 in 5 bloggers has a formal editing process. Does that correlate with strong results? Yes. You are 43% more likely to report strong results if you have a formal process for editing. Not surprising, maybe, right? Like people, they're just taking it more seriously. They're sort of professionalized. They're dedicating time and effort and resources and workflow and teams and collaboration to up their game.
Yeah. Like you said, spoiler alert. I mean, really, the more serious you take the effort, from top to bottom, and all the questions that you ask these survey participants really does reflect that, you're you're in or you're out, and the chasm's growing, right? So if blogging is if you take blogging as seriously as tweeting or something like that, you've got your work cut out for you. Blogging is a marketing strategy for serious marketers.
Yeah, and when you it's just every one of these things correlates with results. People who write more words, kind of goes with people who spend more time. That those are typically the same people. 9% of bloggers write more than 2,000 words on average per article. I've never seen any studies that show that short articles perform better, even though people keep asking me, like, I heard people don't like to read online. Okay, we should just do a whole show about length. But yes, it's unlikely that your visitor is going to read every word. People don't like long words, long sentences, or long paragraphs. But people do like the best page on the internet for the topic they searched for, right? Especially if search is part of your strategy. So yeah, the bloggers who write 2,000 plus words per article, much more likely to report strong results. 56% of the bloggers who write the much longer posts report that they get strong results from their blogging. Average all the respondents together, and you get this number for the average length of a blog post. Do you know what it is? Barry, you want to guess? How long is the average blog post?
1,000?
1,142 words.
Not a bad guess.
Close.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about getting results based on the length of your blog post.
Mm-hmm.
People, please don't extract from that. There's this element of your sample, I think 4 years after you began it, that suggests, well, maybe we want to document it this coming year, like how long you've been blogging for, some sort of metric for how serious you are about blogging. But there's this element that a lot of these people are serious about blogging. Meanwhile, I've read a lot of crappy, or I've read a portion of a lot of crappy 2,000 word posts. It's not a secret, formula for succeeding. 2,000 word posts that you write, and hopefully I write, and great, bloggers write, are meaty and answers to questions people want answered, and therefore they perform well on search and they get shared, right? Mm-hmm. So just because you shouldn't take from this lesson that 1,000 is not enough and 2,000 will be better. Let me just go fluff up my stuff.
Right. I once was during my era as a obsessed guest blogger. I was writing for an editor for a big blog, and the editor said, our best performing posts are 800 or 1,800 words long. Please do not write a 1,000-word long article and fluff it up to 1,800 words. Please write a 2,500 word article and trim it down to so no word is wasted. So yeah, it's the point is, what you're giving the visitor is ROI. There's a return for their investment. The length is their investment. That's the time they have to spend with it. The return is the value they got from it. So you can make your content better by making it as short as possible to get across the meaning, right? In each sentence, in each paragraph. No extra words. Hit it with an X-Acto knife and trim that down. But yeah, you're not definitely don't fluff anything up. We would never recommend that.
Yeah, who said, was it Abraham Lincoln, or maybe it was Mark Twain that said, if I had more time, I would have wrote a shorter letter. Mm-hmm. I think that was Lincoln. And so, yeah, the idea is here that editor had to say was, make it lengthy and deep, and then trim it and make it great. And that's true. I answer the question all the time about how long should a blog post be, and that's a tough question. How long should a video be? How long should should a movie be? How long should a marriage be? It should be
1,100 words. That's how long your marriage should be.
It should be quality from the first to the last, or you should get out of it. Yeah. You skipped around a little bit. How about this frequency thing? You want to talk about that?
No, I want to do it last.
Okay. What do you want to do next?
What does a blog post include? 57% of bloggers include multiple images. And that means that they're putting more media in their content. More bloggers are adding video, right? More bloggers are adding audio. We're in audio now. So this also indicates that people are investing more time, because it's a blog, It's a URL, and what's included in it is part of the blog. Great content isn't written, it's assembled. So there's many other aspects in media and formats maybe within the blog. So that's an indicator that people are spending more time. People who upgrade the format are also more likely to report strong results. Are bloggers checking their analytics? Yes, a greater percentage of bloggers are always checking their analytics. What kind of results do they get? They are much more likely to report. 32% of bloggers always check their analytics. That seems low to me. But those bloggers are by far the most likely to report strong results. 43% of bloggers who always check analytics report strong results. So now I'll skip to the end. All of this comes at what cost? We are spending more time, writing more words, adding more media, working with editors, checking analytics. I think that there's kind of a finite amount of time and effort and resources and calories we can burn on this content stuff. So that's where you see the change in frequency, right? And this is really interesting. Over the last 4 years, we see an ever decreasing percentage of respondents who publish more than once a week, and an ever increasing percentage of respondents who publish several times per month. Weekly stays about the same, but there's basically the frequency is sort of shifting to lower frequency, to less content, to lower quantity. So that's where I think it comes in, right? Like the calculation that the content marketers are making now is that I'm going to write a little bit less often, but I'm going to put 30% more work into each post because I see that giving me 50% better results.
Right.
The amount of effort is sort of is a linear thing, but the results are more like an exponential thing on a curve.
Right.
So you get the idea.
I wholeheartedly agree, and I publish less. I guess your strategy hasn't wavered a lot. You generally publish twice a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
On Orbit Media. But I think, I write for Kissmetrics. They used to publish multiple times a week. Now they publish 4 times a month. They want to deliver to their audience great stuff. It takes time. You went flying by it, but sometimes it takes enormous amount of media, including images or video or audio, so forth. And so, what are the benefits of publishing more often? I don't know. A lot of people were schooled by the lessons of HubSpot. X amount of pages equals X amount of indexing equals greater chance of ranking. But it's just, it kind of traces back, I'm sorry to say, to content shock. There's just too much content in most niches. And so if indeed you're going to pull it off with incredible frequency, you need a staff of incredible bloggers.
Yeah, and that's an important point because this survey is of individual bloggers. I'm not surveying corporations.
Multi-author blog,
yeah. It's not.
So those are the ones that can get away with the daily thing, or even more times per day. But yeah, if you're on your own and you blog daily, don't you also have a job to do?
Yeah, I mean, even if you're a full-time, content coordinator or writer or author or all the other jobs, right? Like whatever it is, I've done trainings for companies where the owner of the company is saying, "You hear this, guys? Listen up. I want us to publish less often." The habit is strong, right? When people get into a rhythm, they've created a habit to produce, an endless stream of quality at a kind of a certain level, and it's really hard for them to slow down or pull back or go deeper or more research, right? How do you produce better stuff? You often have to just spend more time prepping for it, and these people are used to having a rough draft done by 1 p.m., right? So I think it's a real cultural change for a lot of marketers to consider this idea of maybe quality versus quantity, frequency versus depth. They're in conflict because we only have a finite amount of time. But I would definitely say that it's, obviously only 10 pages will rank on the first page in Google, but there are 28 million pages relevant for that topic. The tiny, tiny, tiny sliver at the top gets all the results. The tiny number of tweets get all the visibility. A tiny number of videos get all the YouTube views, right? So your goal is to just edge as close as possible to that far of that hockey stick curve, because even moving a little bit farther over can get you way better results. So yeah, it's I think it's the conclusion here, even though the study shows that greater frequency also correlates with strong results, for the individual blogger, we end up recommending quality over quantity.
Yeah, the question, Barry, Mr. Marketing Consultant, how often should I post a blog? The answer is as often as you can create a great one.
Perfect. That's it. That's the bottom line, right? It's sort of like the same question we just answered. How long should a blog post be? As long as it needs to be the best answer on the internet for that topic.
Wait, I thought it was 1,800 words. Or 1,801.
Yeah.
You gave me one word. You shorted me one word. We're looking for 1,801.
Add a word and it'll be better. Yeah. So I don't know that this is, this is data that supports what a lot of people have experienced. The data is a reflection of the trend, right? That the result of how people are adjusting their approach. I think a lot of our listeners will go, duh, yeah, I knew that, but if nothing else, take this and bring it to your clients to show them, right? This data is supportive of this theory if you've already adopted it. Or take this to the manager or the boss who says, how come we didn't, it's Thursday morning at 8:15 and I don't see a new post live. This is support data to support the changes in the business that we've all been feeling, and it's also a new consideration for those that are just love to press the publish button every day.
Yeah, and make sure to take away from it. I think I think I mentioned that we make infographics out of this data, so we skip some and we highlight others, and we did so this year, and it lives in a lot of places, but it debuted on HubSpot. And a question or an answer that you could take away from the data at large is that bloggers are seeing better results. And so at a large scale, when you talk content marketing, sometimes I guess it depends on the study, but sometimes you learn that people are realizing the benefit of it better than they once did, but usually you don't. Usually you hear a long list of reasons why they're struggling. So this is interesting that you asked the question, what kind of results are you getting? And more so than ever before, people were answering, I'm getting strong results with my blog, or I'm getting some results with my blog.
Yeah. There's good news in here, and that's that the percentage of people who get no results is on the decline. It's scary to think of how many articles are published per day and what percentage of those articles are getting no results. Because if you do the math, if the average post takes 3 hours and 20 minutes to write, and there are 2 million blog posts published per day, we're at like 6 million hours spent per day creating content, and that a percentage of those get no results at all. That's 7% of those 6 million hours are wasted. Like there's like lifetimes, years of life wasted daily.
Yeah. We are proponents of content marketing and blogging. Obviously, our show is called Content Matters. We want people to hear the positive results of applying yourself to these practices. But we don't want to bullshit anybody that it just happens automatically, right? You wouldn't go, if you cut calories 1 day out of 31 this month, you'll lose weight. If you go to the gym, 1 day out of 31 days this month, you'll get stronger, right? So blogging is for people that consider, at least business blogging, people consider it a marketing tactic.
Yeah, and everything that we talk about in every other episode of this show except this one is how to use that extra additional time and effort to give you a better chance of being in that, getting disproportionately strong results by being more strategic or more tactical or more deliberate or focused or structured in your content, because it's all those little things that added up to the outcome, right? So this is really the whole point of our show.
All right, rapid fire, Andy, because we want people to devour this information. You skipped the most important stuff. So I'm going to give you a minute like they do on CNN to answer the other questions.
Okay.
Where and when do bloggers write?
Bloggers write all over the place, and bloggers write all times of day. 81% of bloggers write it from home at least some of the time. The percentage of bloggers who write in the office is 38%. When do bloggers write? During business hours, quite a bit. 61% of us write during the regular business hours. But there isn't a time of day when bloggers don't write. A third of us write at night. A third of us write on weekends. We write both before work and after work. So it's a 24-hour, never-ending, always-on kind of job.
Blogging is depriving us of our friggin' lives.
We're never off, are we? You've got it in the back of your mind. You're always collecting ideas. You're always seeing something might be useful. Seeing a headline that has a turn of phrase you might like.
Yeah. It's addictive. All right. Is guest blogging still a popular practice?
Guest blogging never declined. It is still a popular practice. It's something like 2/3 of bloggers guest post at least sometimes, which is great news, right? Get out there. Blogging should be social, should be networking, should be collaborative. So write for other sites at least sometimes.
And especially beginners.
Yeah. The younger your brand, the more you should be writing for other sites. There was a time when 2/3 of my articles were published on websites other than my own.
Yeah, me too. Because you hear bloggers, I'm doing everything right and nobody's reading it. Well, go to where the audience is. Good call. All right, Sue, are bloggers updating older articles? I know you feel strong about this one.
Yes, 55% of respondents reported that they do at least sometimes update older articles. It is a killer tactic, and there are often way better results by going back and finding something that worked well and updating it, republishing it, relaunching it, putting it in the social stream, sending it as a newsletter as if it was new. If it was vetted and validated and improved already because you got the feedback from it the first time, the hypothesis is that maybe you don't need 1,000 articles on your blog. Maybe you need 100 really great articles.
Mm-hmm. All right, I guess you answered most of the questions that are studied, and this is the last one that we didn't talk about. And good luck doing this one in a minute. How is your content typically promoted?
Virtually everyone uses social media. About 2/3 of us are paying attention to SEO. Most of us use email. Paid has quadrupled over the years. It's up to 20% of bloggers are using some kind of paid promotion, often boosting things on Facebook. And 1 in 4 of us use influencer marketing or some kind of collaboration. Which of those tactics correlate with strong results? Social media is the least likely to correlate with strong results. Only 30% of bloggers who use social report strong results. Influencer marketing is the greatest correlation between the promotion tactic and strong results. 48% of marketers who do some sort of influencer outreach report strong results from their blog.
You think that counts guest blogging?
It's a good question. Influencer outreach could mean a lot of things. It could mean just quote and mention. Mm-hmm. It could mean collaborative, like outreach for contributor quotes. Could mean, I think it includes 5 things: quote and mention, contributor quotes, the roundup, the deep dive interview, or the guest blog. Those are like the 5 types of collaboration in my mind, in order from simplest to most in-depth. But technically, influencer marketing is like an industry that's sometimes just, paying some Instagram celebrity to put your product in the background of their next viral. Yeah. It can be defined a number of different ways, and I've written about it extensively. But I think for blogging, you nailed it there with your list. I think, you're trying to make friends in high places and generally not paying them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's most of the content marketers aren't paying for anything. Right? I don't know. I mean, I guess as far as the content is concerned, hopefully gas and stuff. All right. So let's wrap it up. We have a really cool one that we just conceived before we started recording next time, and we have to do our cheese and mousetrap thing. Mm-hmm.
Barry talking about content tips and Andy talking about conversion tips. So, dun, 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 bring on the cheese.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and this is not a attack or diatribe against how-to blog posts, but I write a lot of blog posts for a lot of companies, and I find not everybody enjoys the success and traction that they were hoping for by sticking with the how-to. Right? You definitely want to answer your customers' questions. You definitely can't extract how-to articles from your blog. However, if that's all you do, you blog 8 times a month and everyone's a how-to, and they usually take the form of listicles, 7 ways to blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
It could backfire on you because it gets boring.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you do it awesome every time and there's that many questions, go for it. But I think the blogs that and I think an objective of blogging is to not get people to visit your website, it's to get people to subscribe to your website.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the blogs that have opinionated writers that say, I feel strongly about this, I feel strongly against this, I have this prediction, I have this, Mark Schaefer is a very strong example.
Mm-hmm.
Chad Pollitt is a very strong example. Seth Godin is a very obvious example. People respond well to opinions,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think you can help yourself with your blog catch on and build an audience by injecting it. So put aside the idea that I'm an objective journalist.
Mm-hmm.
You're not. You're a blogger.
I like it. I agree. It's not my normal strategy, but I'll tell you that some of the subject lines that have had the first person in them have had the best results for me, which I think is a part of that, right? Put yourself in your content. Opinions are personal. Personal works. People work with people. People like humans.
You're more opinion than you think. You're not as controversial perhaps as a Mark Schaefer, but like today we talked about, or you talked about the percentage of people that check their analytics. Well, it came through that your opinion is you should be checking your analytics.
Yeah, but what part of what you're saying is something I don't really do, which is to just be more direct and forceful and stick your neck out and plant a flag and draw a line in the sand.
Yeah, not everybody's Bill Maher.
Well, but I think that's part of what you're saying here is just quit watering it down. Remove some of those qualifying statements. Don't soften everything you write so that it's 100% factual. Leave the edge on it.
Yeah, I'm going to refrain from listing the blogs that are really successful or that I read often that never have opinions, because that would be mean. But I don't look forward to reading them like I do Mark Schaefer's blog. Well,
just to stay on this for one more second, what about this? How-to works in search, opinion works in social? Promotion, correlating or designing content to perform in a channel, and some topics work better in some channels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've heard that from BuzzSumo, right? Their research says, and interestingly, we're doing discussion today about research. They say amongst the 6 leading killer ways to approach content marketing and blogging is original research and opinion pieces.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's smart, and I agree. It hits a lot of notes, and I'm going to consider applying that more in my own voice, my own topics.
Get tough, buddy. All right, you got some conversion tips for us?
Yeah, I've learned something recently, and it's not as prescriptive, but while writing some pages for some clients, I've discovered I learned a bit of this from Joel Kletke, Business Casual Copywriting, and Joel has a process for gathering information from his client's audience through interviews. And one of the questions that he asks is something that I recommend we all ask ourselves of all of our visitors and audience and markets. Why might people not choose you? If you understand why people might not choose you, you've got a chance of making a better page, a more a higher converting page because you know what the blockers are, the objections. So this process of gathering information about the audience and doing research and doing interviews of the audience before writing a high converting page, you need to know what they care about, what's going on in their life, what's the true story that brought them here, what they're trying to get out of this, their desired state, but also why might they not choose you? Why do people not choose you or your solution or service or product? It's a clever way to get insights that will help you write a page that is more likely to connect with them because you can directly or indirectly address that objection. Price is a common fear or concern. And we worked with a client who had their higher education or college that said we addressed the price question in a call to action. So why might they not choose us? Well, they don't, we're private. Maybe we're expensive. So the call to action, although we don't put the price on the page of tuition, the call to action says, discuss financial aid with an admissions officer. So you get to address everything, and one of the things we want to address is that objection.
Yeah, you took away all the things I was queuing up in my mind to say next. Joel's an awesome writer, and you should listen to his tips. And overcoming objections, get sprinkled throughout whatever you're doing, whether that be a page or a brochure or a presentation or a demo or what have you. And then they especially belong in the call to action, like you pointed out. Because you go, oh, my reader's shaking their head positively now, and then we're going to ask for their time or money, and now they're shaking their head the other way, going, I don't have the time, I don't have the money. So you notice in these buttons all the time now they say no credit card required. Well, why do they say that? That's a massive objection.
Exactly.
I don't want to get out my credit card.
This was a fun conversation.
Yeah, we tend to have fun. And a couple weeks from now, we're going to talk about something kooky and fun that you conceived just minutes ago. Tell us about it.
Well, after all this conversation about quality, the march toward quality, length, multiple images, video, audio, working with editors, checking analytics, promoting with influencers, I think that we can make a case, going in the totally opposite direction, for the medium quality article.
I can't wait for that one. I mean, we already did make a case, like we got some notes down, but they'll come to us. And so, yeah, that's fun. You have a task, and sometimes you have deadlines, and you have spaces to fill. And so it's conceivable that not every piece is a 3,000-word masterwork. So I'm looking forward to talking about medium quality content on the next episode of Content Matters.
It's gonna take a little time.
Very good. The dog barked a little, not too bad.